welcome back to the channel. Gonna do a collage today, as you can see from all of the ephemera, but I am definitely drawn to doing something that's going to mix and match contemporary with something vintage. Here I have a San Gabriel Valley city map. San Gabriel Valley is a suburb of the greater Los Angeles area. It does extend into downtown Los Angeles, and this is a very old map that was given out by Union Oil, 76. I like this little guy. He's definitely interesting and iconic, especially if people grew up around here in the 1950s and 60s. So this is a very old map and really kind of cool. And it's changed a lot, I can tell you that. So we're east of Los Angeles in San Gabriel Valley. So I like saying I'm from Los Angeles just because it's more universal and people understand it. But that's where I got this. You can even see that the phone number written on here is something I've never seen. It was definitely before my time. So I may use him. I'm also kind of fascinated by some of these backgrounds, contemporary and not contemporary, but I already think I know what I want to do for this first collage. I may do more than one today. I was gifted from a friend these wonderful old advertisements. I can't recall what magazine it was from, but I was going through my stash of ephemera and I just chose what I liked, not necessarily going to use every little thing. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I really like choosing too much ephemera because that way I have more options while I'm working. So I want to use this slice of ham and I'll show you why in just a moment, but I'm also thinking of a background. I'm thinking about using her hat, but I don't know if it's going to make it in. I want to use this sunflower. I think I want to use either this little head and the corresponding hands with it, or one of these larger heads. And I know you have all seen this from another video. And because we've been making a lot of videos on this channel, I can't remember which one. I apologize. If I figure it out, we'll put it in a little caption for you. She's going to be my focal point. I hope she doesn't get me in trouble because she doesn't look like she has too much on, but she's awesome and I'm going to cut her out. She needs a background. I think I want to use a background. Backgrounds can be absolutely fascinating with collage. That's what makes them so greatly absurd. When you put your new characters in landscapes that maybe they don't belong in. This one has a really great moon-like atmosphere. I want to say it is Mono Lake, also in California, but further north from where I am. Very interesting place to go to if you ever get the opportunity, especially if you're a photographer. And as I've shared before, I love black and white because of the color juxtaposition that we could possibly be playing with today. So I have lots of options. Always give yourself too many options when you are playing with collage. That is the best way to begin. If you are new to collage, I'm going to repeat myself again. Choose too much. Get too much ephemera when you're building your first collage. You can't go wrong. And if you end up cutting things out nice and detailed, again, you can't go wrong. You can use that image later. I also grabbed some images from an old Popular Mechanics magazine. I normally don't like using cars. I don't know why, but I grabbed some cars because I thought they might be interesting. And I think these images will make their way into another collage. I'm feeling kind of creative today, so I might do more than one collage video. This will just be its own video for now. At least that's where I think I'm going. I had grabbed this because it might be a background, but I think it's too plain. I'll put it off to the side. This might be too colorful. I do like this, but I don't know if it's going to make it in. Just have them off to the side. It doesn't hurt to have them hiding off to the side. And they can also be a source of inspiration. I don't think this one's going to make it in. It's a little small. I do like this, though. This one's really, really cool. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting. I'm going to start cutting out my focal point, my model here on the beach. And we will start with that because that's the other thing. If you do cutting, at least when I do cutting for collage, even if I'm really not sure which direction I'm going into, it helps me think. So, watch me think. Bit of a tutorial here. Cutting out this sunflower. I like to cut into the image, and what I mean by that is I want to avoid getting any of this white line if I can help it. I can use my X-Acto, I can also use my scissors, but what I like to do is, here we have that yellow petal. I'm actually going to cut not directly on the line of the petal, but a little bit beyond. So that way we have no white background. So I'll begin my cut up in here, and I'm actually within the flower itself, the flower petal, I'm cutting into the yellow. So you can see that right there. I think you can see it. Apologize if you can't, but I just cut beyond the outline into the color because it'll look more rich up against a background. And I'm talking a lot about backgrounds right now because I really want to experiment more with my backgrounds. Normally what I like to do, what's been very safe lately, is scanning my finished collages into Photoshop and using a nice pastel or just a basic black background. You can never go wrong with something like that. However, I also feel that if collage is going to take an absurd turn, then you want to play with those backgrounds. And you don't necessarily have to adhere that background with glue, connecting the elements of the collage onto the new background. If you have a computer, you can easily scan your collage into that computer and play with backgrounds. In fact, I highly recommend that. I haven't done that too much on the channel, but I was looking over actually some of my social media from years ago before I started this channel, and I was doing these scanned collages. I didn't adhere any of the ephemera to any paper. I just scanned them into my computer and kept the image alive. I wasn't committed to paper. And that's kind of what you do if you want to play with backgrounds, because you can scan all sorts of backgrounds and play with them later. And if you become highly adept with a program like Photoshop, you can play with sizes and put your collages on all sorts of backgrounds. Now that's not something I've done. I don't think I've really done that on this channel, but it is a nice way to be non-committal and save your images and not commit them to any background at all. It's just something to think about. So that's what makes this kind of cutting really important, because when you have these teeny tiny little bits of empty space, negative space, even on our model here, just a little bit between the hand and the leg, that makes all the difference when you eventually scan it into the computer, or if you're adhering it to a background with using glue or whatever it is that you're going to use. It makes it look more crisp. It makes it look like it always was meant to be there. And that's what promotes the absurdity of your content. There is nothing like a nice absurd collage, to me anyway. Most collages tend to be absurd. And I'm not sure why we like going in that direction. I think it just depends on, your sense of humor and your outlook. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this little sunflower. Going to, again, cut into those petals. So we have a nice, clean, crisp line against whatever background we come up with. So here comes the best part about collaging, playing around with what's going to work. I, again, as you know, love black and white with color. That is the ultimate juxtaposition. I'm not sure if that's the direction I want to go in. This is why it's always a good idea to have plenty to choose from. Now this is starting to look really good. This is taking me into a direction I did not think I was going to go into. That looks very interesting. And yeah, I want my model sitting on this ham steak. Maybe it's a little rough what I'm saying here. I don't know is there a message here? Possibly. I just thought she looked cool and that she would look cool on another surface. Now, maybe something that's very much different from the sandy beach that she should be sitting on. Maybe something like this, and it's a lot smaller. Then we can put our flower here, and it's okay if it overlaps, because I'll be cutting out that image. I like this. I'm going to hang on to this for just a moment more because there's some beautiful contrast with her skin and the ham steak and, of course, the sunflower. So putting that up to the side. Here is the more vintage industrial steampunk background. That's also kind of interesting, and it's also a photograph. And don't you love these old illustrations? I'm sorry, I think it was a Ladies' Home Journal magazine that I cut this food out of. That looks kind of cool. I want to keep the bone in there though. And I also wanted to maintain some of the shadow on here. So again, that it looks like it belongs on that surface. Maybe not this particular background. Here's a beach, but of course she looks like she's belongs on a beach. So I'm gonna leave that up there. Here's another beach. And I had a couple other colorful pieces, but this is turning into something of a more minimal collage where I use maybe 3 to 5 pieces of ephemera and call it a day. So as much as I like this background, I don't think it's going to work. So far we got this guy and then the smaller image, smaller background. Here it is. And I'll definitely need to cut this down because we don't want any of this. All right, and I had chopped up these guys because, again, I want to be a little bit more absurd. I was thinking about this. Would this work? Okay, I'm going to cut this free and see if that makes for an interesting piece. Maintaining the hand, because this beautiful artesian hand that has seen a lot of work is a great juxtaposition to her flawless skin. And I was thinking about doing something like this because that creates major interest to me. I think it really promotes the absurdity that I'm very drawn to right now. I'm definitely calling this an absurd phrase, but like I said, collage in and of itself has a tendency to be very absurd. And it's interesting because that fits almost perfectly. That makes me very, very happy. Now, do I want to use, I'm looking at these and I don't know if I want to use them. I like circles. So. And then we got this going on. Maybe would be too much. I don't know. I thought about these guys. Their heads are a little bit bigger and they don't have those interesting hands going on. They would work. I'm going to put them off to the side just in case, but I think we're wrapping it up here. And I'm leaning towards this background very strongly. I'm going to go ahead and cut it free. It's going to be smaller than the other backgrounds. Where is my X-Acto knife? Ah, here we go. It's going to be smaller than the other backgrounds, obviously, that I have used just now. And when I cut these images out, I also use that same technique, not that it's like a major technique, but it's the same thing. I cut a little bit into the image, not right on the line, because I want to make sure I get a nice crisp image. I have a good sturdy straight edge I'm working with, and I'm also trying to utilize my lines on my mat. So we're actually cutting in, a good ½ inch, it looks like. Maybe I'm going to cut in and I want to keep as much of it as I can because it's not going to be a big, background. And it's okay to overlap because I'm definitely going to be overlapping. I think that generates a lot of interest. We'll have a background and I'll probably end up scanning it into Photoshop and giving it a pastel background. But this is going to be the major background, the focal point background, if you will. So same thing here. Find the line and cut just a little bit into the image so we have a solid image and no white border. Thank you, white border, for what you did, but we're cutting you out. Do it on this side too. Just a little bit, like a milligram. This came from a book, so it's nice and sturdy. Line everything up. Draw your X-Acto through. One more time if you're not certain, and now it's free. This wraps up to the side and we have a brand new background. So let's see how this is going to work. We definitely want our stake on here. And what I can do here is, I'm gonna just put this on the background so you can see it a little easier. I'm not gonna use this for the background. But what I wanted to do is I want the stake to maybe overlap a little bit. And then here's our focal point, our model. I really want to make sure that ham bone is clear. I don't know if it's going to be possible just because of the way it's positioned. So as much as I'd like to use it, it still reads as a piece of meat. Oh, is that our title for this collage? I don't know. Okay, and now we can put our head here. Give it a tilt maybe. Do we want it like that? That's very interesting. Kind of wanted it like this maybe. I like the way that looks, and I do like our sunflower. Now, what I can do is I can cut along this mountain ridge, and we can tuck it in, and then we're pretty much done. The only problem I am having is that I feel like it's a little busy with the sunflower sun going on. Let's go ahead and try tucking it in. Because we're on the edge here, I can go ahead and use my scissors and I just follow along the edge. Yes, you can cut beyond the image if you don't want any of that white cloud in the tucking. Because when you tuck it in, you'll see a white line if you don't cut exactly along the ridge of this mountain. I'm not gonna cut all the way through. That should be enough. So we have a nice flap, and I like my bee. We also have something of not a straight edge right here, but it's a little rough, and it's okay if it doesn't show up. also with this tucking technique, I'm gonna have to maybe come in with these flowers and cut between the petals so we have a lot of interest going on here. I think that might work, possibly. Maybe something like this, like it's the sun coming over the ridge. And our sweet little bee, I want him to be visible. Let me see if I can get some of these flower petals. I may need to come in and cut some of these petals. So what I mean by that is cutting along there. I can use my X-Acto. I'm going to use my scissors here just because I'm lazy. I don't want to go back to the X-Acto right now. Sometimes I just don't. There's nothing wrong with that. There's just a preference. But sometimes I absolutely have to use my X-Acto, especially if we're dealing with an area like this in here, where it's a tiny area and it's enclosed, it's kind of landlocked. I have to use my X-Acto. Not a big deal, and I don't mind, but there is a sort of ease with the scissors. So okay, I gave these petals a little bit of a clipping so they are free and I can play with them a little bit. I know I want my flower to come in this way. Tuck it in a little bit like this, something like this. Our bee is clear. Is this what we want? Well, we can play with a little bit more. We can always play. And we want to play with collage. The other thing I can do here is kind of making myself crazy because I really want to show that little circular bone. But it's just not prominent enough. It's not lending itself to that. And here we are with our, now our hand can look like it's coming out of, yeah, this is like a connection now. Is that too much? I almost feel like it's too much. Yes, I'm in love with this flower, so I really want this flower in there. But I think it's too much. I think it looks stronger without the sunflower. So we can do something like this maybe. Have it all the way up to here. And something like that. I don't know. It's a small collage. It's not going to be much more than this. Do I need the ham steak? Really stuck on that. She's a perfect size for this piece with this background. Okay. Let's try this. I'm thinking also there's not a lot of contrast between her and the ham steak. I should do something like that. And do I throw this in for good measure? No, I'm pushing it with the sunflower. I just am. Let's try it on this side just for fun. We worked so hard on it, but we can use it in another collage. Not a big deal. Okay, now it feels uneven. Yeah, that sunflower's throwing things off. I think this is all we need. So it's a small collage. It's going to be a minimal collage and absurd, and why not? We can always do another one today. Let's see. Keep everything in together. Then there was this. Ooh, look at that. I tucked the hand in behind the mountain where I was going to put my sunflower. And I think that kind of works. I think think I might stay with that. So we have a minimal collage for you today, and that's fine. There's plenty of daylight left. I can, well, actually, no, it's getting dark early. But we can work into the night if we feel compelled to do something else. Okay, I'm going to commit this to tape and give you a final look, and let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.